How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the TLC results / highlights and review video. I'll be going over the entire show results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts and my review on the show. So it starts off with the kickoff. We get a backstage segment with the Usos talking about how they're going to win the tag team titles. And then the Lucha Dragons come up to them and they talk about how, hey, it's a ladder match, we thrive in that environment, and that they're going to win the tag team titles tonight. And then they both get presents from their secret Santa, the New Day, and they open it up and it's basically New Day t-shirts and unicorns. And then we also get Ric Flair backstage, where actually it looked like he was walking from the parking lot into the backstage area. But anyways, he runs into Paige, who talks about how it's always about Ric Flair and that tonight, you know, while he's there in the corner of Charlotte, he's gonna try and steal the spotlight or whatever from her. And at the end of it, she tries to slap Ric Flair once again, but this time he sees it coming and he blocks it and he's like, not tonight. And then we get Team Bad coming out for Sasha versus Becky. And before the actual match, they cut a promo where, well, first off, Naomi says that we're 12 days away from the most amazing time of the year. So then they say they have a song for us, they start singing. It's just terrible. They bring up Hotline Bling and What Are Those and whatever. After that, we get Becky Lynch making her entrance, so it's Becky versus Sasha. I'm just gonna go over some of the highlights of the match. At some point, you had Sasha going for a monkey flip, and she turned it into a nice pin. But Becky then countered it into a roll-up, and then Sasha countered it into a roll-up of her own. They did that a bunch of times during the match. Like, at some point, Sasha goes for the bank statement, but Becky Lynn gets out of it. She stands up with Sasha on her shoulders, and she's got Sasha in the electric chair position, but Sasha punches her way out, and then Sasha counters it into a roll-up, and once again, they start countering it into roll-up attempts. And then we get Becky hitting a pump handle suplex on her. She goes for the disarmer, but when she goes for the armbar submission, Sasha goes ahead and counters it. But then Becky puts it back on, and then both Tamina and Naomi get on the apron with Tamina on one side and Naomi on the other. Referee is distracted. He goes ahead and goes on Tamina's side, telling her to get off the apron. While he's doing that, Naomi goes ahead from the outside, kicks Becky in the chest, and then Sasha takes advantage of that. She hits the backstabber, and she follows it up with the bank statement. Becky ends up tapping out, so Sasha Banks wins the match. After that, we get the Twitter segment where they get some Twitter questions for a certain superstar. This time around, it was Del Rio. When introducing Del Rio, Tom Phillips just said Alberto Del Rio, and Del Rio went ahead and told him, you know, make sure you roll your R's when you're saying that. And I don't know if it's just me, but I took that maybe as a hint that maybe Ricardo comes back, you know, and announces again for Del Rio. I don't know, or he might not. Anyways, also, something interesting here is he asked him about the Mex America thing, if it was over, and he said that he made the mistake to trust an American and it didn't work out, so Mex America is over. And then after that, we get the actual show. Something I noticed right off the bat, because the first match was the ladder match, and when New Day was making their entrance, somebody had a Raw is Booty sign. Kind of surprised that made it in, that they didn't, you know, confiscate that sign or anything like that. So they cut a promo as always. Kofi goes ahead and asks Xavier Woods, hey, don't you usually have, you know, a special hairdo for these occasions? And since they're in Boston, Woods goes ahead and says that, yeah, but, you know, I wouldn't waste something special like that for Boston. And then the crowd boos. And they talk about how tonight they're going to solidify themselves as the faces of the tag team division. And then they're like, you know, who else can be the face of the tag team division? They go over the Lucha Dragons and the Usos. They make fun of both. They go ahead and say that the Lucha Dragons should be a part of a junior division in the WWE. And they say that the Usos, that sounds like a disease. And then Lucha Dragons come out, followed by the Usos. And during the match, Woods was on commentary. So, as always, I'll go over the highlights of the match. There were a lot of highlights in this match. I predicted this match would be the match of the night, and, well, anyways, I'll talk about that. So, first off, New Day were the first team to go ahead and set up the ladders and try and climb up, but they were unsuccessful as everybody's trying to climb up in the beginning. And so they get stopped, and then after that, we get Kalisto and Kofi both springboarding from the ropes onto the ladders, on the opposite ends of the ladders at the same time. That was pretty cool. And you also had Kalisto and Sin Cara hitting double moonsaults from the inside of the ring to the outside on Kofi and Big E. And you had the Usos then go ahead, grab a ladder, and then they threw the ladder on the outside on the Lucha Dragons and the New Day. And then they caught it, the guys on the outside, so the Usos went ahead and hit simultaneous dives to the outside on the teams. And then we get the Usos setting up the ladders, or one ladder actually. And then Kofi goes ahead and tries to hit a double drop kick through the ladder, or like where the ladder opening is. So he tries to do that, but the Usos see him coming, so they just grab him and then they throw him to the outside. And then the New Day start dominating the Usos once Kofi Kingston gets back in the ring, and Big E, well actually it was right after the Usos threw Kofi to the outside, Big E came in the ring and he just grabbed the ladder and pushed it onto the Usos. Kofi Kingston gets back in the ring, and from then on they start beating up on the Usos. They put one of the Usos in the corner in a sitting position, and then they put a ladder over him, and then Kofi Kingston drop kicks him through the opening, or through the steps, in between the steps of the ladder. And then Big E goes ahead and belly-to-belly suplexes the other Uso onto that same ladder, where the other Uso is still sitting down in the corner, behind the ladder. And during this time, Xavier Woods got out of the commentary table and he started playing the trombone. And after that, we get Kalisto going ahead and hitting a jump on Big E, a splash on Big E with the ladder. And then Sin Cara went ahead and hit a dive to the outside, a flipping senton on the Usos, both Usos, who had a ladder on both of them. And then Kalisto went ahead and put the ladder over Big E, and this is the ladder inside the ring to climb up and get the title. He puts it over Big E, and Big E is still pushing up. He's lifting it up with Kalisto still on it, so then Sin Cara jumps up on the ladder to add to the weight, but Big E is still lifting it up despite there being two guys on top of it. So he lifts it up, Sin Cara falls, and Kalisto still stays on the top for a little bit until eventually he falls off, and then the Usos catch him, and then they just take him out. And then the Usos get Big E in the corner. They put a ladder over him. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of people putting ladders on other people, then jumping on them. So they put a ladder right in front of Big E, and then they go ahead and charge him in the corner. And then Jay body slammed Kofi on a smaller ladder, and then he climbed up top. Looks like he was going to go for the splash on Kofi, or on the ladder that's on Kofi. Or actually, no, on Kofi that's on the ladder. Sorry, I'm confused. There were so many spots where the ladder was either on top of the guy or under the guy. Anyways, so he tries to go for that, but Kofi stops him. And then Jay gets Kofi Kingston upside down, and he grabs the small ladder. He hits Kofi with it, and then he puts it right in front of Kofi's face while still on the top, and then Jimmy Uso goes ahead and hits the ass attack, or whatever attack where he charges the guy and hits him with his ass. He hits that on Kofi while Kofi has the ladder in his face. And then the Usos go ahead, they set up the ladder, and then the Lucha Dragons get in the ring, and they all look at each other, and then they look at the titles. They all start climbing the ladder, and at some point, Sin Cara monkey flips Kalisto into a 450 splash on a ladder that's on top of one of the Usos. Following that, Kalisto puts a ladder in between the steps and in between the second and third rope, or second and top rope. And whenever they put a ladder like that, somebody is going to land on that ladder, whether it's a back chop or whatever. I did not expect what was about to happen with that ladder. So Kalisto climbs up the ladder, and he's on the other side of the ladder. So the side where there isn't that other ladder in between the steps, right? And then Jey Uso climbs the other side of the ladder. So right under him is that ladder, you know, that ladder in between the steps and in between the ropes. And then once they're both on the top, Kalisto goes ahead and hits the Salido del Sol from the very top of the ladder on Jey through that ladder in between the steps and the ropes. That was freaking awesome. I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of those moments that they keep on replaying, just like the, you know, Edge spear when Jeff Hardy was grabbing on to the titles. I think this is going to be one of those moments that they show in the highlight videos or highlight packages for ladder matches. That was freaking insane. So that was freaking awesome. And then after that, Sin Cara follows it up with a springboard flipping senton, which was nothing. Like, nobody really reacted to that because it followed up something that was just freaking awesome that she can't follow up. Anyways, after that, Kalisto and Jimmy are now on the top of the ladder, and Jimmy headbutts him off of the ladder. Big E then gets back in the ring. He takes Jimmy off the ladder, but Jimmy takes Big E out of the ring, and eventually he drop kicks a ladder in Big E's face, or baseball slides a ladder in his face. And then Jimmy Uso actually climbs up the top rope and hits the splash from inside of the ring to the outside on the ladder that's on top of Big E. Like I said, there was a lot of spots where ladders were on top of guys and people were jumping on them. So he does that, and then Kalisto at this point looks like he's the last one left in the ring. And then Michael Cole on commentary is like, oh, Sin Cara's the last one in the ring. But, you know, it's Kalisto. And then Woods starts yelling at him. He's like, no, that's Kalisto. And then Woods goes ahead and says, you know what, this is no disqualification. And then you hear him, you know, take off his headset. And he goes ahead, he gets on the apron and throws the trombone on Kalisto's back. And then Kofi gets back in the ring. He grabs Kalisto by the leg and then just trips him off the ladder. He climbs up the ladder, grabs the titles, and the New Day retain the tag team titles in a great opening match for TLC. Great ladder match. Loved it. And New Day retains, so I'm happy about that. Moving on, it was time for Rusev versus Ryback. And right away, when the match starts, Rusev just goes right after Ryback. Ryback hit some, like, unexpected moves in this match. He actually hit a missile drop kick. He hit a crossbody from the top, too, which Rusev kicked out of. That was about it for the, you know, unexpected moves. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Ryback hit a missile drop kick, so I didn't see that coming. But anyways, once he was setting up for the meat hook, Rusev goes ahead and rolls out the ring. He tries to leave with Lana. And then Ryback follows him, he grabs him by the hair, and then he tries to get him back in the ring. But Rusev pushes Ryback, and Lana was, like, behind Ryback. So then Lana, like, slaps Ryback in the back, and then pretends like, you know, he bumped into her, and she fell. So she falls, pretending like she's hurt. Ryback gets distracted. I don't know why. I mean, she's faked her injuries before. But anyways, he's distracted by that. Rusev goes ahead and super kicks him, and then Lana, like, jumps up, and then Rusev rolls him back in the ring. He goes for the cover. Ryback kicks out. Rusev tries to go for the accolade, but Ryback powers out of it. He's got Rusev in the shell shock position, but Rusev slips out of it, and then he kicks Ryback in the head, knocking him out, and then he puts on the accolade. And Ryback is just passed out. So Rusev wins via pass out. I don't know, it seems like Rusev nowadays, whenever he's facing off against faces that aren't low carders or, you know, low mid carders, they always pass out. Like, come on now. He used to make people tap out, and now it's just he can only get a win. When he puts on the accolade, at least, he can only get the win if it's a pass out. Nobody taps out. And it's not even like it's the very top stars or the guys that are currently in the main event that pass out instead of tapping out. I mean, Jack Swagger didn't tap out, instead he passed out. Same with Mark Henry, same I think with the Big Show. When's Rusev gonna make people tap out again with the accolade? But anyways, moving on, we had Del Rio versus Jack Swagger. Well, actually, before that, we had a segment with Roman and Ambrose backstage talking about how it'd be a great way to end the year with them both as champions, with Ambrose winning the IC title tonight and Reigns winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So, Del Rio versus Jack Swagger. It starts off with both of them, like, hitting each other with chairs. Not actually hitting each other with the chairs, but, you know, hitting each other's chairs. Kind of like when you see a sword fight on TV, they always start off, or, you know, they're always hitting each other's swords, dueling or whatever. That's what I mean. So, Del Rio goes ahead and with the first signature move of the match, he goes ahead and hits the backstabber, goes for the cover. Swagger, of course, kicks out because it's pretty early on in the match. And then Del Rio hits Jack Swagger a couple chair shots to the back. He goes for the super kick, but Swagger just throws a chair right into Del Rio's face. From that point, it looked like Swagger was going to get the advantage. He starts hitting clotheslines. He goes for the Swagger bomb, but Del Rio counters and hits a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. And then shortly after, Del Rio gets Swagger on the outside. He takes him out and he starts throwing chairs on Swagger while he's down, basically burying him under all those chairs. Then he gets him back in the ring. He tries to go for the cross armbreaker, but Swagger counters it, and he throws Alberto shoulder first into the steel post. He then hits Del Rio with a couple chair shots to the back, and then Jack puts Del Rio's leg in between a chair while locking in the Paige lock. He's got it locked in for a while, but Del Rio goes ahead and grabs the ropes, and he slowly pulls himself out of the ring, breaking the hold. And then after that, Swagger tries to grab Del Rio from the outside, but Del Rio just hits him with a chair shot to the gut. Del Rio goes ahead and jumps from the top with the chair, but Swagger counters it with a slam. He goes ahead and hits the Swagger bomb, gets a 2 count, and then Swagger, he puts a bunch of chairs in the middle of the ring. Looks like he was going to go for a superplex, but Del Rio stops it, and then he locks in the cross arm breaker in the corner. He lets go of it, and then he has Swagger in a sitting position, like Swagger is sitting on the second rope. And so, since Swagger's in this position, he takes advantage of that, and he starts hitting Swagger with chair shots to the back. And then he gets Swagger upside down. He puts all the chairs that Swagger put in the middle of the ring right under Swagger while he's upside down. And he goes ahead up top and hits the stomp from the top while Swagger's upside down. Covers him and gets the win. Now, I don't know if he's got a name for it right now, so at the moment I'm just calling it the stomp from the top while the guy's upside down. So after that, it is the ECW versus Wyatt Family Elimination Tables match. And all the ECW members come out with tables with names of the Wyatt family members on them. So right when the match starts, Tommy Dreamer starts throwing kendo sticks and trash cans in the ring. Strowman at one point goes ahead and punches a trash can that Bubba obviously, it was so obvious that he could clearly see it, that Bubba grabbed the trash can and he put it right in his face for a couple seconds, or maybe like a second or two. And it was just too obvious that he wasn't trying to hit Strowman with it, and he was just waiting for Strowman to punch him, or to punch the trash can onto Bubba's face. But anyways, so Strowman punches that trash can in Bubba's face, and then he starts just beating up every single ECW member on his own. And then he tries to go for a big boot on Bubba in the corner once he's back in the ring, because he's got Bubba. They've got a table set up in the corner, and Bubba was like right in front of it, so he tries to go for a running big boot on Bubba, but Bubba gets out of the way, so Strowman gets his foot through the table, but he isn't eliminated because he himself doesn't go through the table. It's just his leg while he's going for a big boot. But anyways, then all the ECW members start hitting Strowman with trash cans and strikes. And then Eric Rowan gets in the ring, saving Strowman. He actually cleans house. He actually beats them all up. And then Rowan sets Devon up on a table. He climbs up the top rope. And then Rhino pushes him off, so he kind of like flips over Devon. And he doesn't actually, jump on Devon. But the table Devon was on still broke for some reason. But Devon wasn't eliminated. Anyways, Then Devon and Bubba go ahead and hit the 3D on Rowan through the table, so Eric Rowan is the first to be eliminated. What a surprise. Rowan's always the one to be eliminated first, or if it's not an elimination match, he's always the one to get pinned, and if it's some sort of attack, he's always the first one to get his ass kicked. But anyways, after that, Ryder goes ahead and hits a couple belly-to-belly suplexes, one on Bray, one on Luke, and then he prepares for the gore on Bray, and I'm excited, like I want to see the gore, we haven't seen it in a while. He goes for it, and Bray stops him by hitting him with that running crossbody, and then Luke goes ahead and hits Rhino with a big boot through the table in the corner, so Rhino is the second member to be eliminated. Well, the first member of Team ECW, but the second person in the match. And then we get Bubba jumping from the apron on Braun to the outside, but they fall like so awkwardly that he like falls. He's supposed to fall on top of Braun, but instead Braun ends up falling on him. Anyways, after that, Devon sets up a table in the ring, and right behind him is Bray. Bray was down. While he's setting up the table, Bray like sits up in the spider walk position, and as soon as his table is finally set up, he goes ahead, grabs Devon and hits him with the Uranagi through the table, so Devon is the third person to be eliminated in the match. So then Dreamer and Bubba go ahead, they hit Bray, Luke, and Braun with a bunch of kendo stick shots, and then they throw Strowman into the steps on the outside, and Dreamer grabs a cheese grater, and he basically grates Braun Strowman's nuts. And then they go ahead and like throw a table onto the back of Braun, and then they start throwing tables on Braun, just burying him under all those tables. And then Dreamer decides to get back in the ring, only to get Black Hole slammed by Luke Harper. So he rolls out the ring, and then outside the ring, there's a table like right on the barricade. So Luke Harper goes ahead and hits a suicide dive to the outside on Dreamer through that table. I thought that was a pretty cool way to eliminate somebody in a tables match, because we haven't really seen that before. So, of course, we've seen dives on people through tables, but what I mean is we haven't seen a suicide dive on somebody that led to a table elimination. And with Dreamer now eliminated, Bubba was the only one left, so he has to fight Bray, Luke, and Braun. Well, actually, Braun was buried, under the tables. So Bray tries to go for Sister Abigail on Bubba. Bubba counters, and he hits him with a kendo stick. He then goes to the outside, where he checks under the ring, grabs some lighter fluid, so, everybody's excited, for tables on fire. And he puts it on the table. He puts a lot of it, actually. I think the whole box, maybe. And then looks like he was going to go for like a powerbomb on Bray through the table. And he's got the lighter, but right before he could actually use the lighter. Now, I don't know if he was supposed to light it up or if it was supposed to end the way it did, but before he could go ahead and light it up and throw the lighter onto the lighter fluid, Luke Harper goes ahead and super kicks him, and then Braun Strowman comes in, he grabs him by the throat and chokeslams him through the table. I think a lot of people were disappointed that the table wasn't lit up. They didn't light up the table. I was disappointed too. I mean, come on now. He grabs the lighter fluid, he puts it on. Everybody's expecting it to be, for him to light up the table, for it to be on fire and somebody to be put through that table. I mean, they did it at Extreme Rules. Was it last year or the year before that? So it's not like something, they wouldn't do because it's PG or whatever. But yeah. So anyways, Wyatt Family win, which I'm happy about. But the thing is, while they do win here, that only means that the next two they're in, they're gonna lose. We'll see if I'm wrong though. Afterwards, we get the Intercontinental Championship match. Kevin Owens versus Dean Ambrose. Before the match, Kevin Owens cuts a promo making fun of the people in Boston. Basically, honestly, while he was making fun of them, this is something that would apply to everybody that, I guess, talks like this or whatever. So basically, it was making fun of how whenever a sports team in Boston goes ahead and wins, the people go ahead and say that, hey, we won this or we won that. When in reality, they didn't win anything, they just sat and watched as the team themselves won. And then he makes fun of Ambrose for throwing soda and popcorn in his face. He's like, you know, what's the big deal with that? I mean, I eat popcorn and soda anyway every day of my life. So afterwards, he goes ahead and says that tonight no one will be able to deny that this is the Kevin Owens show. So Dean Ambrose comes out, match starts. So I'll go over some of the big moments of the match. You had Ambrose hitting the suicide dive on Kevin Owens on the outside, and then he went for the rebound clothesline on the outside as well, but Owen caught him, and then he hit a fallaway slam on Dean Ambrose onto the barricade. And then he followed it up with a senton to the outside, and then he threw Dean Ambrose over the barricade, and then he got back in the ring for the count out, or for the ref to count out Ambrose, but of course Ambrose got back in the ring at the count of 9. And then as soon as he gets back in the ring, Kevin Owens goes for the senton once again, but this time Ambrose gets his knees up, he hits KO with some chops, some rights, and then Kevin Owens hits him with an elbow, but that only makes Dean Ambrose bounce off the ropes for the rebound clothesline. He hits it, and then he hits the elbow from the top, but Kevin Owens kicks out. And then he tries to go for Hurricane Rana from the top, but Owens counters it into a rolling senton. The same move that, you know, Mr. Kennedy or Mr. Anderson now does, or used to do. And then we get a pop-up powerbomb attempt from Owens, but that gets countered. And then Dean Ambrose tries to go for Dirty Deeds, but that also gets countered. Kevin Owens goes for the pop-up powerbomb once again, but this time Dean Ambrose jumps over him, and then Ambrose hits Dirty Deeds. And at this point I'm like, oh, this might actually end. He goes for the cover, but Kevin Owens gets one finger on the bottom rope, thus stopping the counts. And you could tell from the crowd that a lot of people thought it was over then. And then, like, Dean Ambrose is like, you know, he can't believe it, and he's kind of arguing with the referee. And with that distraction, that allows Kevin Owens to hit a super kick on Dean. And then he goes for the pop-up powerbomb, but Ambrose counters it into a Hurricane Rana pin, or Hurricane pin, or it was like Rey Mysterio's West Coast pop move. He counters it into a roll-up, 1, 2, 3, and Dean Ambrose actually beats Kevin Owens and wins the Intercontinental Championship. So Ambrose actually won the championship here. This was a big surprise to me, and I'm pretty sure it was a big surprise to the crowd as well. Whether it was a big surprise or not to the crowd, they really popped when Dean Ambrose won that title from Owens. So that was a nice, you know, surprise win on the pay-per-view, something that was unexpected. And following that, we had Charlotte versus Paige for the Divas Championship. So right in the beginning, Charlotte extends her hand for Paige to shake it. Paige like slaps it away, and then Charlotte goes ahead and cheap shots Paige. And then throughout the match, Charlotte was acting like a heel. A lot more than Paige. Actually, Paige wasn't really acting like a heel at all. So I don't know if they're like turning Paige back face and turning Charlotte heel. They're definitely turning Charlotte heel. If she's not a heel already, I'm pretty sure she is a heel now, like officially, or like she's 95% heel right now, or like 100%. Paige, I don't know what they're doing with Paige right now. So she was doing some heel tactics. She was hiding behind Flair as well, and Paige at some point she goes ahead and takes out Charlotte by sending her head first into the steel post on the outside. When she does that, the referee is like kind of distracted. He's looking at the action. Ric Flair goes ahead and he starts taking off not the turnbuckle padding itself, but like the post, or the post that's connecting the turnbuckle to the steel post, the big steel post on the outside. He's taking off the padding off of that. So he takes it off, and then that sort of plays into the finish of the match. You'll see. So once he does that, and once both Charlotte and Paige are back in the ring, Paige goes ahead and locks in the figure 4. And then Charlotte reverses it by putting pressure on Paige, and then Paige gets to the ropes, and then Charlotte hits a crossbody from the top, Paige kicks out, and then Charlotte, while she's on one knee, Paige tries to go for a running knee on her, but Charlotte counters it into a cradle DDT. Looked like Rampage, Paige's finisher, but, you know, not doing it while standing up. And then Paige goes ahead and actually hits the Rampage, so the cradle DDT, and then she goes ahead and says to Ric Flair, "This one's for you," and then she goes for the cover, And while she goes for the cover, Ric Flair grabs Charlotte's leg and puts it on the ropes. The referee doesn't see it. He just sees Charlotte's leg on the bottom rope, so he breaks the pin. He stops it. Stops counting. So then while Paige is arguing with the ref, Charlotte goes ahead in that corner where Ric Flair took off that, connector, the thing that's connecting the turnbuckle to the post, and she actually takes off this time the turnbuckle padding, the second turnbuckle padding, and then Paige goes after Charlotte, who's sitting in the corner hiding the exposed turnbuckle. When she gets close, she shoves Paige face first onto it, and then she covers her, 1, 2, 3, and Charlotte gets the win. After that, we see them backstage talking about how, they're going to celebrate, they're going to party, talk about Ric Flair and Charlotte, and then they run into Becky, and Becky, looks disappointed in the way that Charlotte won, and then Charlotte's pretty pissed off about that. She's like, yo, would you rather have Paige as the champion or your best friend, me? And then Becky's like, you, and that was about it. And then we get Sheamus versus Roman Reigns in the TLC main event. So right off the bat in the match, Sheamus runs towards Roman, who just hits him with a big ass uppercut, and then the crowd shortly after starts chanting, "We want Cena," and "Cena sucks." So the crowd really weren't into Roman and Sheamus, and this wasn't the only case where they were chanting, this wasn't the only superstar other than Roman and Sheamus that were chanting for, actually. At some point, they were chanting for Seth Rollins. At another point, they were actually chanting for Daniel Bryan. So they were chanting for a bunch of other superstars. But going back to the match, once they start fighting on the outside, Roman Reigns backchops Sheamus over the barricade, and then he sets up a ladder on the apron and on the announce table. So it's hanging, on both of those, and whenever that happens, somebody's gonna go through it. So he sets that up, and then Sheamus grabs a chair and just throws it in the back of Sheamus. And then they start fighting in the stage area where Roman Reigns throws Sheamus onto a bunch of stacked tables and chairs. And then he starts hitting him with steel chair shots. Eventually, once they get on the ramp, Sheamus backdrops Roman Reigns through a table. And then right after, he hits him with a fucking arrow through another table. And then Reigns goes, once he recovers, of course, he goes, see, I'm going for the highlights here, or talking about the highlights. Reigns goes for the dropkick on the apron on Sheamus, but Sheamus counters it with a clothesline. And then Sheamus hits Roman Reigns with chair shots to the shoulder. And then he sets up a table right next to the barricade, and he puts the steel steps right next to it. He grabs Roman Reigns, puts him over his shoulders, and then he starts climbing up the steps, and he hits the Celtic Cross from the top of the steps on Roman Reigns through that table. And then he starts getting back in the ring, and Roman Reigns starts getting back up, and he just grabs Sheamus by the legs to stop him from getting in the ring and climbing up the ladder, or setting up the ladder, because nobody's set up the ladder to actually climb up the title, or climb up for the title yet. And then Sheamus just starts beating him up, and then Roman Reigns goes ahead and turns a second Celtic Cross attempt into his single arm powerbomb onto a ladder. And then shortly after Sheamus gets out of the ring, Roman goes ahead and gets out of the ring too. He grabs a steel chair, and then he runs towards Sheamus and climbs up the steel steps, jumps from the steps onto Sheamus with the chair, kind of hitting a Superman punch, but instead of his fist, with the chair to the head of Sheamus. And then back inside the ring, he goes ahead and goes for the Superman punch, but Sheamus counters it with the Irish Curse backbreaker. And then Sheamus goes for the 10 beats, the 10 punches, while Reigns is on the apron, but Reigns stops it. And at this point, they're on the side where there's that ladder that's set up on the apron and on the announce table. So once Reigns stops that, he goes ahead and he puts Sheamus on top of his shoulders, and he actually hits a Samoan drop from the apron through that ladder. That was pretty cool. And then he gets back in the ring, and he sets up the ladder. He slowly starts climbing up, and Sheamus is going to come back, and stop him, and he does just that. So Sheamus stops him, and then Reigns takes off Sheamus, because Sheamus also tries to climb up. Roman then headbutts him. He starts climbing up the ladder. Sheamus tries to stop him with a powerbomb, but Reigns jumps off his shoulders and then hits him with the Superman punch, and once again tries to climb up the ladder, and then Sheamus pushes him off the ladder, so Reigns just falls onto the ropes, and then Reigns goes ahead. When Sheamus tries to then climb up the ladder, Reigns climbs up the ladder, and he stops him with a Superman punch on the top of the ladder. They both fall, but of course Sheamus is worse for wear, so then Reigns starts climbing back up the ladder, but this time Rusev and Del Rio of the League of Nations come out, and they start attacking Reigns, and then Reigns gets the better of Rusev. He starts punching him. He's on top of Rusev, giving him rights and lefts, and then Del Rio stops him with a super kick. Following that, Rusev gets Reigns outside the ring, where he puts him in some sort of accolade. It's not really the accolade. They were calling it the accolade, but it wasn't the accolade. It was like a submission that kind of looks like it, where he's basically, wrenching his head or whatever, and while he's putting him in the submission hold, he's got Reigns in a position where Reigns can look at Sheamus climb up, the ladder and grab the briefcase, or not the briefcase, the championship. And so Reigns actually gets out of it, and then he hits a Superman punch on Rusev, and then Del Rio tries to stop him, but Del Rio also gets a Superman punch for his troubles, and then Roman goes ahead, grabs Sheamus by the leg, tries to stop him. He takes him off the ladder, but Sheamus just bounces off the ropes and hits him with a bro kick. And then Reigns rolls off the ring. Sheamus starts climbing up the ladder real slow. So I was wondering, is Reigns going to get back up? Once he's at the top, right before he could actually grab the championship, Reigns gets back in the ring. You see Sheamus with a shocked look on his face, but he manages to grab the championship before Reigns can fully recover and, climb up the ladder and stop Sheamus. So Sheamus retains the championship with the help of the League of Nations, or Rusev and Del Rio. Barrett was nowhere to be seen here. He wasn't helping out. I guess because he wasn't, on the card or participating in the match. But, he still could have helped them out. Anyways, so after Sheamus wins, he celebrates with the League of Nations. They put Sheamus on their shoulders, so Sheamus is on Rusev and Del Rio's shoulder. And then once they turn around to their, the right side, I think? Yeah, it'd be their right side. So once they turn around to the right, Roman Reigns spears both Rusev and Del Rio, so Sheamus also falls down. And then Roman gets out the ring, he sees the chairs, and then he gets some ideas. He grabs a chair, gets in the ring, and he starts hitting Rusev, Del Rio, and Sheamus with the chairs. And eventually he just starts focusing on Sheamus, hitting him with chair shot after chair shot after chair shot. And then, at some point, after all the chair shots, Triple H comes down and he's all like, calm the fuck down, motherfucker. Doesn't actually say that, but basically, he's telling him, calm down, that's enough. And you've got a bunch of referees there, and he tries to calm Reigns down, and it looks like Reigns is calming down, or, though, that he's gonna spear him or something like that. And Triple H gets in the ring, he checks on Sheamus, and then Roman Reigns grabs the chair, and then he starts hitting Triple H with the chair. And at this point, Triple H is selling if you guys saw the SummerSlam match between Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam 2005, was it 2000? Yeah, it was 2000. Yeah, it was 05. So if you saw how Shawn Michaels would sell for Hulk Hogan in that match, he was basically selling the chair shots like that. He would flop around and stuff like that. This was what Triple H was doing right here with the chair shots. He was flopping around. He hits him with a bunch of chair shots. And after 20 chair shots, and Stephanie McMahon's like, yo, stop. And then he goes to the outside, and he takes off the announce tabletop, and he powerbombs Triple H. But the way he powerbombed Triple H was pretty odd. He didn't set him up with the usual powerbomb setup, where you put him, in between your legs, and then you post him up on his shoulders. Instead, he put Triple H right away on his shoulders in an odd position. It was so odd that I thought he was going for another move rather than a powerbomb, like a power slam or something like that. But anyways, he powerbombs Triple H on the announce table, but the table doesn't break. I hate it when it doesn't break. And then the people start chanting, of course, one more time. And instead of going ahead and hitting it one more time, he goes on the other announce table. Triple H is on the Spanish announce table, by the way. That's the table he tried to break. He goes on the other announce table, and he runs towards Triple H, who's still down on the Spanish announce table, and he hits him with an elbow drop, and this time the table breaks. And then at this point, I'm thinking it's over. Roman Reigns is like leaving, and then the referees grab Triple H, and they're helping him up, and they're, slowly walking towards the ramp. And then Roman Reigns turns around, and then he starts running towards Triple H, and bam! Spear! And he takes down Triple H with a spear. So that was pretty much it. And then, throughout the entire thing on commentary, they were talking about how, it's over for Roman Reigns. He's getting fired. Actually, he's getting more than fired. He's in big trouble, this and that. His career's over. And that was it for the show. So Roman Reigns just snapped, and he kicked the entire League of Nations ass, except for King Barrett, and he beat up Triple H too, who sold like Shawn Michaels back in SummerSlam 05. So anyways, what did I think about the show overall? I'll say this right away, it was much better, much better than the last pay-per-view Survivor Series. I was so disappointed in Survivor Series. Survivor Series was just, it wasn't a good pay-per-view in my opinion. This, though, a lot better. Both the opening of TLC and the ending were much better than Survivor Series. The Survivor Series ending was pretty much the exact same ending as SummerSlam 2013, I think it was. Where there was the whole Danny Bryan thing, where Danny Bryan won the championship, Randy cashes in. I already went over it in the last review. Now, also, I'd say the middle of the pay-per-view, everything in the middle too, was better than Survivor Series. So, let me stop comparing it to Survivor Series now, and just let's go over with, the things I liked or whatever. First off, the opening match, man. I'll talk about the ladder match. That was by far the match of the night. Once I saw that, I was like, alright, how are they gonna top this match? It was the first match of the night, and it was the best match of the night. It'd be hard for anybody to top that. And nobody was able to top that, at least in my mind. I thought the main event was good. And I liked the ending too. Roman Reigns was actually getting cheered by the crowd in that ending. Something I didn't note, or didn't point out, a few seconds ago, or a few moments ago, when I was talking about the main event, is that towards the end there, once, Roman Reigns ended his assault on Triple H, actually, you know what, he wasn't over with his assault. Once he put him through that table, the crowd was chanting, "Thank you, Reigns." So, have they maybe, switched the crowd around, or gotten the crowd on Roman Reigns' side with that ending there? Maybe people want a more ruthless Roman Reigns, less talking maybe, less tater tots and that, maybe less suffering succotash and more kicking ass. Now, with this ending too, you see, in one of my prediction videos for it was for the Roman Reigns and Sheamus one, I was talking about how I think at WrestleMania, it might just be Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar once again. The rematch, this time, since there's no Money in the Bank holder currently, we'll find out who, I guess is a superior superstar or whatever. Now, after seeing this ending, though, I'm thinking at WrestleMania, it looks like it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Triple H. Because after that brutal beatdown, Triple H, he's going to go after Roman Reigns. And I'm telling you right now, their reasoning behind Roman Reigns not getting fired is Triple H is going to be like, no, you know what? That's too easy. I'm going to get some payback, so I'm going to face off against Roman Reigns. That's always, the thing behind, or not always, but a lot of times they're like, no, I'm not going to fire you. That's too easy. Instead, we're going to face off in a match, or I'm going to beat you, or whatever. And then maybe they have a stipulation where if Triple H wins, Roman Reigns is fired, and if Roman Reigns wins, he keeps his job or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, let me go over the matches. First off, worst match of the night, Rusev versus Ryback. I'm sorry, I just wasn't interested in that. I'm a fan of Rusev, but I'm just not a fan of this match or this feud. And I hope that they start taking Rusev more seriously, or that Rusev gets back that, dominant factor, and he starts dominating superstars. Because, you know what, even in this match, despite winning, he was still running away from Ryback. I didn't like that. I want to see Rusev dominate people, man. I want to see the undefeated Rusev back. Even though he's not undefeated, he can still look, like the badass Rusev that he was before when he was beating, the big guys and everything. And also, the Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens match. Really liked the ending there. Good match. Not as good as the main event, though, or the ladder match. But I would say the Kevin Owens versus Dean Ambrose match might have been the third best match of the night. And then I would rank the tables match after that, actually. Yeah, that's how I'd rank it. Really liked Ambrose getting the championship. Now, despite me, liking Kevin Owens, being a fan of Owens, I'm also a fan of Ambrose. I thought that at WrestleMania was going to be Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Now that Ambrose won the championship from Kevin Owens, I doubt that's going to happen. I don't see Kevin Owens winning it back from Ambrose. Nice to see Ambrose getting a championship here. I feel like it's about time. I know he was a former US champ, but that was when he was in the Shield. And he's never won the Intercontinental Championship. People have been wanting to see Ambrose win the IC Championship since WrestleMania. And I don't know if it's just me. Let me know if you think the same. But I feel like them giving the championship here to Ambrose, having him win against Owens, is their way of, I guess, making up for his loss against Roman Reigns. Because he lost clean to Roman Reigns, and that kind of showed that, hey, Roman Reigns is the superior competitor. But if you look at TLC, Roman Reigns was not able to win the championship while Dean Ambrose was. And one cool part about this too is that Dean Ambrose was actually the only face to win on the pay-per-view. I thought that every single heel was going to win on this pay-per-view. And I was almost right. Every single heel won except for Dean Ambrose. I think that's a cool little way for, also Dean Ambrose to shine. On top of winning the IC Championship, he was the only good guy to win that title. And now he's the only guy in the, Roman Reigns group or stable, the family that has a championship. Did I go over the ladder match? Pretty sure I did. Like I said, the ladder match was freaking awesome, and man, that Salido del Sol through the ladder, I'm telling you right now, they're going to start showing replays of that. Just like they show replays of Edge always spearing Jeff Hardy when he's holding on to the championships in that ladder match. They're going to start showing this now, and this is just a moment I don't think anybody is going to forget. We haven't gotten such a big moment like this in a long time when it comes to ladder matches. Now, when it comes to the tables match, I thought it was a bummer that we didn't get to see the table, get set on fire. But despite that, I didn't think it was a bad match. I actually thought it was a good match. Definitely could have added to the match, actually really added to the match if they had set it on fire. They just teased us with it, but it never happened. Now I'm wondering, was it supposed to happen? Was it actually supposed to, be set on fire before Bubba Ray was put through that table, or not? I don't know. And also, I was really hoping we'd see the gore, and I'm wondering, does it have to do with Roman Reigns using the spear? Is that why Roman Reigns, is that why Rhino didn't use the gore, or wasn't allowed maybe to use the gore because Roman Reigns, has a spear and they don't want anybody else to use it as a finisher, but, Rhino's had the spear or the gore as a finisher before Roman Reigns, of course. Or maybe they're just, teasing us, and they're going to show the gore maybe on Raw or at the next pay-per-view, maybe at the Rumble, actually. We'll see. But I thought it'd be pretty cool to see, the gore through a table or something like that. And Luke Harper did pretty well in the match. He eliminated two guys. He eliminated both Dreamer with that suicide dive and Rhino with that big boot. Rowan, as always, he's the Wyatt Family member that always, looks like the fool that gets pinned first and gets his ass kicked. But moving on to the Divas matches, they were, nothing crazy, nothing really amazing or great or whatever. They were just okay. And then Del Rio versus Jack Swagger. I'm not a fan of chairs matches. I just don't like chairs matches. It seems like a lame stipulation, and also there's never really been a great chairs match or any great chairs match moments. one moment, actually, you know what? I had forgotten about this, but then I saw because I watched the WWE top 10 videos on their channels, or on their channel, and they showed a chairs match moment. It was Sheamus versus the Big Show, which is a match I watch, but I forgot about this moment, but Big Show pulling out that big-ass chair, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was actually, I guess, a cool moment looking back, but it's not something I really remember. Now here, I will say this, that last spot with all the chairs stacked up, like right under Jack Swagger and Del Rio hitting that double stomp from the top, that was pretty cool. But aside from that, everything else was average. It wasn't anything crazy with a chairs match. I still think chairs matches are just boring. So, yeah, I don't really have anything great to say about Del Rio versus Swagger. So, that's about it. Match of the night, a lot of match. After that, it would be the main event, Sheamus versus Roman Reigns. And following that would be Owens versus Dean Ambrose, especially because of that surprise win for Ambrose. And then I would rank the tables match as the 4th best match of the night. All the other matches, meh. So, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Oh yeah, as far as a rating for this show, I'd give it a 7 to 7.5 on 10. I think that's a fair score. What would you guys give TLC on 10? Let me know in the comments below. I was going to say let me know what you thought was the match of the night, but I think most people are going to say the ladder match. But that's my opinion though. You know, some people might prefer other matches. So you know what? Let me know what you think is the match of the night. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I think I already said that. If you did, you can click the like button if you want. With that said, I'm out. See ya.